Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. How did Donald Trump win in 2016? Well, very simply, through the power of one thing and one thing alone: the internet. You know, a guy like Donald Trump would have never been able to succeed in a different era. In previous eras, media is totally controlled. A guy like Trump probably wouldn't even really be able to get into the race. He'd be gatekept entirely by the corporate media establishment. But in this new age of independent media and social media, it's a completely different landscape where red pills and relevant information can be handed out to the masses instantaneously. Well, folks, we've experienced many of these situations, these mass red pillings. And what I'm gathering with the Trump mugshot, the Trump indictments, is that this might be one of the greatest mass red pill moments in modern political history. Maybe it's copium, maybe it's hopium, maybe I'm delusional, or maybe people are finally waking up. We are seeing tons of personally recorded videos suggesting there's a clear trend afoot. I want to talk about that trend, of course, what everyone's been talking about. It seems like Trump may be getting a little bit of a bump when it comes to the black vote. We'll have to follow the information as to where it's actually going to lead and whether it's going to be significant or not. And of course, part of that process starts here, as there seems to be a grassroots swell. We've got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, you've seen the videos. Hundreds, if not thousands, popping up all over the internet. Black Americans seem to be waking up. Here's the latest example. This woman seems to be in Miami. It's hard to tell exactly, describing her political awakening. The video has gone absolutely viral with millions upon millions of hits as she claims she's now on Team Trump.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
So you are obviously a person of color like we are.
Yeah.
And we're supposed to not be Trump supporters. So what is it about Trump
You
that...
know what, I'm going to tell you something right now. I was talking to my husband about it earlier, and when I really started educating myself and informing myself on Donald Trump, one thing that I'm passionate about is human trafficking, that especially of children. And when I really started digging into it, I saw that Trump also is a huge supporter. He donated recently $35 million to support human trafficked survivors. Yep. That really struck a chord with my heart. And so
Amazing.
When I started really looking into him, I'm about action, I'm not about words. Okay?
Yes,
I like the fact that he says what's on his mind. I like the fact that he doesn't say what he thinks people want to hear from him. And to me, I know everything that he's done for the black communities, and I stand behind him.
Beautiful.
100%. I'm not only a Trump supporter, I am a Trump lover. And for the longest time, I've been afraid to come out and say that.
Well, here we go.
Because I didn't want to lose my blackness or my black friends or whatever. But
remember what Joe Biden said: if you vote for Trump, you ain't black.
I don't know about you guys, but it really feels like 2016 again. I keep hearing those exact words. Once I started to do my own research. See, here's the thing. This was part of my political evolution as well. You follow the mainstream narratives, you follow the media, you follow social media from a very mainstream angle, and you're fed all of this information, which leans you a certain way, obviously. And then all of a sudden, once it starts to get a little bit crazy, you start asking yourself, whoa, what am I being fed here? Is this legitimate? Let me check myself. I think that's exactly what these indictments are doing, obviously. People are interested. Criminal cases, trials, great example, the Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard trial from not too long ago was one of the most viral, the most live-streamed events in modern history. You know, all of a sudden, people start researching law, they start looking into people's characters, they want to get to the bottom, get to the truth. And that seems to be happening right now. All of a sudden, people want to figure out what's going on. Whoa, did Trump really do something wrong? Trump's getting charged with a RICO case. Is he involved in some mafia-type behavior? Then you look at the facts, you look at the indictment, and you're shocked to see that they're literally charging him over tweeting while watching TV. Oh, he had an opinion. Send the guy to prison for life, right? That's the stuff that red pills are made of. Then you start researching Donald Trump and you realize, hey, maybe he wasn't that bad after all. Now you see Donald Trump versus the machine, and all of those people who are naturally skeptical of the system or government as an entity start to come on board rather quickly. You know, Trump instantly becomes that vessel because the current situation kind of paints him as a figure that's standing up against this out-of-control, corrupt Goliath. This headline pretty much describes what I'm talking about. Trump polls bump after every indictment because voters see him putting country before self. It's very true. I don't think they would have indicted him if he wasn't running for president. Clearly, they don't want him to run again, so they're throwing everything, including the kitchen sink, at him. The guy's literally putting himself in harm's way. He is putting his freedom at risk running for office. If that doesn't prove to you that it's a selfless endeavor, then I don't know what will. I really think, or at least I have to think, I have to hope, because the alternative possibility of people just remaining asleep is just too dark and depressing of a reality to ever accept. You just gotta believe that the brainwash is fading. And I know that's an aggressive term to use, but I think it's totally appropriate when one group of people is voting for a political party for decades upon decades at a 90% rate. There's really no other word to describe that kind of scenario, but I think slowly but surely it's starting to break. We're seeing cracks. Are we going to see a massive shift this election cycle? Probably not, but we might see a small shift, and that small shift might indicate a future trend. That's the important factor here. Like mentioned in the interview, when a Democrat presidential candidate can say, vote for me or you ain't black, and that just becomes like a little blip in the news cycle and then goes away and has seemingly no effect on voting patterns, well, I'd argue that's relatively abnormal. The sort of cult-like enforcement within the black community, the shaming that occurs, be a Democrat or else kind of dynamic, I think people are waking up and realizing that not only is it abnormal, not only is it weird, but it's also kind of racist. And Democrats want so badly to distract from that fact. Vivek Ramaswamy is currently taking serious heat over his statements. He said this:
the greatest racism I have experienced racism, comes from the modern left at a scale unimaginable, because I think they feel a sense of betrayal, saying that you're not speaking in the tone that you're supposed to. You literally did. So Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley, I believe not putting words in anybody else's mouth. I believe taking people at their own terms on their own words. Right? So I don't believe in straw men. Ayanna Pressley, she's in the Congress today. She's a member of the squad. Her words, not mine. We don't want any more black faces that don't want to be a black voice. We don't want any more brown faces that don't want to be a brown voice. Literally word for word. I'm not putting words in anybody's mouth. Ibram Kendi wrote the book, How to Be an Anti-Racist. I wrote Woke Inc. It was a pretty successful book. His sold more copies than mine. Here's what it says. Opening lines. The remedy to past discrimination is present discrimination. The remedy to present discrimination is future discrimination. So the other side will gaslight you when you say this stuff. It's like, oh, you're just making that critical race theory stuff up. No. These aren't my words. These are the words of the modern grand wizards of the modern KKK. Really. And that's really what this is about.
And the Democrats are panicking when they're engaged in a massive propaganda distraction campaign. They want to focus specifically on the comparison that Vivek made, his comparison to that obviously awful group, instead of actually processing the point that he was making. Ayanna Pressley's statement stating, we don't want black faces that don't want to be a black voice. Come on, there's only one way to describe that. That is a horribly offensive statement and standard to imply that all people of a particular skin color must adhere to one political principle, one monolithic political power structure, pretty much, or else I can't think of anything more insulting and demeaning. If anybody of my race ever told me that, I'd have two words as a response. The first one starts with an F, the second one is off. You can take that opinion and shove it where the sun don't shine. But of course, Democrats don't want to focus on the actual content, the actual point that he was making through that statement. No, of course not. They're gonna simply grift and fearmonger, and I think people are starting to get wise when it comes to this grifter propaganda nonsense. People are sick of it. All the Democrats want to do is distract, distract, distract. They're constantly using race as a weapon. You turn on MSNBC and this is what you're subjected to.
Donald Trump is a man with a long history of racism, one that long precedes his presidency and his political career. He has had a problem with people of color for decades. We know he especially has a problem with black people, and we know above all else that he has a real issue with black women, with strong black women. Don't take my word for it. Take Donald Trump's. He led a chant of send her back against Congresswoman Ilhan Omar and even spread vile and racist conspiracy theories about her personal life. He called Vice President Harris nasty and disrespectful, and just this week mocked the way she talks. He accused Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson of being disrespectful, there it is again, towards the white GOP senators who were questioning her. And even his own former advisor, Omarosa Manigault Newman, wasn't spared. He called her, a black woman, a dog. And yes, Donald Trump insults everyone and anyone, but there is something particularly vicious and bigoted to his rhetoric around black women.
They want to focus on literally everything except for policy. They want to focus on divisive nonsense and identity politics instead of policy. Because obviously they know once people start to do their own research, as CNN's Brian Stelter told you was so dangerous, they know once people start to do that, they're going to come to the realization that, maybe Trump wasn't that bad. Trump's policy stances were very simple. Stop China in its tracks, because clearly the Western world / China dynamic is hollowing out the American middle class, close the border, end human suffering and end human trafficking, and of course unleash American excellence in the American economy. That's a winning message, folks. And if people can simply break the TV brainwash and take a good, hard, honest look at the facts, well then that's what we call the political red pill now, don't we? I think it's happening. 2024 is reminding me so much of 2016. Hopefully this trend continues. Let's keep our fingers crossed, and of course I'll keep you guys updated on all of it. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.